I tell you, it is an individual sport, IndyCar racing or Formula One. Sports car racing is very interesting because you take that aspect out of the equation. You now have to work together, help each other, give each other tricks to elevate the whole team together. And I found that fun. I enjoy it because there's no games being played, and it feels more like a team win as well. So it's a very different mindset.
Yeah, sports car racing is certainly a different mentality. You know, it's one that you have to be a big picture thinker. I think all the drivers that are in the car have to be that way. You have to set your ego aside. It's all about compromises. Coming to a setup that'll suit the different driving styles that your teammates have, and coming up with a car that's going to be consistent through the entire race.
I think that compromise is the biggest part, one of the biggest parts of this whole job. You know, whether you're doing sports car racing, like I am here at Daytona with Acura at Team Penske. Obviously, I'm 6'3", you know, I'm a 190-pound guy. Elio is this tall and weighs, you know, 145. We're two completely different, you know, body types and sizes, and so, you know, you have to compromise.
Yes, it's complicated. It's the same thing with Montoya. He's very short, and I got very long legs. Graham is super tall. His head, I think, is touching the roof of the car. It's how tall he is. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's quite uncomfortable for the tall guys. The key is to find teammates that are equally as good and about the same size, but it's very difficult.
Of all the challenges that having multiple drivers creates, the single largest one is in fact the physical size. You try and find guys first that are size similar. Tommy Miller and Oliver Gavin and Marcel Fossler. You look at guys like Antonio Garcia and Jan Magnussen, same physical size, Mike Rockenfeller. That makes just packaging a little bit easier. If you can make the drivers more comfortable in the car from a packaging perspective, then the differences in chassis setup between their likes and dislikes becomes much smaller.
When it comes to chassis setup, particularly for an endurance race like this, it's got to work for everybody. And what I mean by that is that there is going to be a time when, you know, Elio might be able to drive a car that's a little bit more neutral than me on the corner entry. I might be able to drive a car that's got a little bit more understeer than maybe what Elio or Ricky or some of those guys may want. But ultimately, how do we work together to find something that's going to work for all of us?
When you have six, one's always going to be the fastest, one's always going to be the slowest. But if you can create in their mind the confidence that that's not that important, the important thing is their racecraft, understanding what needs to be done to bring that car home after 24 hours. If you can create that in their mind and build that confidence that they're not going to lose their job because they're not the fastest guy, you create what we've created at Corvette Racing. That's how we do it here.
It's true, but you still look at it. You still look at it. I look at it. I know everybody looks at it. You still look at your own performance because at the end of the day, you know, you're being hired for what you can do and what you can bring to the team. So you don't want to be the weak link ever in racing. It's that's your job security is performance.
Driver changes are my least favorite thing in sports car racing because I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2". I'm getting in a tiny race car. So this Dallara, the Wayne Taylor Racing Dallara that I'm in now is great, no problem. I was in the Acura NSX last year. That was a really tight car to get into. But there's a lot of time to be won and lost on pit lane and with driver changes.
You want to be fast without rushing. When you rush, you often make mistakes, and losing 0.2 of a second is not as bad as losing 10 seconds, right? So you want to make sure you're consistently fast. The key is to really relax, breathe before the pit stop, and feel like you take your time, but everything slows down. And taking your time in racing, it feels like an eternity, but it really isn't.
We put a lot of time and effort into it. It's all about the sequence, it's all about the rhythm, and whenever you start feeling rushed and frantic, that's when things slow down, just like when you're in the race car.
In any position on a race team, rushing is a bad thing. You know, calm yourself down, take deep breaths, do it right. Because if you try to rush through it and you miss the clip or you put the belt in the wrong one or whatever, you're gonna find yourself in a lot of trouble. Rushing through anything is gonna get you in more trouble than taking your time doing it right.
And you have to have like-minded people that understand what the goal is. The goal isn't about an individual on a team. The goal is about the team effort and the conclusion of the event. That's what we're all here for. And if you can find guys that can develop that mentality and accept it and pick it as their target, and everybody's pulling on that rope in the same direction, you're going to be successful over time.